What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and a couple of other tickers, and break down the overall market, how things are looking, and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. This offer ends in just about 5 hours from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the markets. So when it comes to the market right now, I just wanted to call out how things are looking, and I just wanted to note there's a risk to the downside for the markets looking at the current technicals, and this could have a big effect on NIO. So I know that a lot of people talk about how the US market is irrelevant, CPI is irrelevant, and this and that. Well, the truth is, I disagree with that. I think that the overall market does affect NIO, at least to some extent. I think that NIO could have its own pieces of news that affect it as well. And thus far, I haven't really seen too much new news for NIO. And the overall market right now is having a big effect on how NIO is moving. And I think that the market could cause some downside for NIO. I'm going to break down exactly why that is in just a couple of minutes. For earnings coming out, we just have a couple of other ones. We have Alibaba, which could actually affect NIO going into tomorrow, not to mention Walmart, Ross, Macy's, and just a couple of others. So we're going to be watching to see what happens with Alibaba's earnings and how this moves going forward. On top of this, I just wanted to call out that we had some decent data today, but going into tomorrow, we have a Fed speaker. We have Cook and Barr from the Fed giving some speeches. We have initial jobless claims an hour before the market opens, and besides that, we have some housing data coming out. And nothing else that's too big besides the mortgage data. We have like the 15-year and the 30-year mortgage rates coming out. That's pretty much it. We have a couple of bill auctions, but nothing else that's too crazy. Initial jobless claims may be the biggest piece of data we'll be looking out for tomorrow. So now the question is, what's going to happen with NIO? How is NIO looking? I didn't see anything new in the news thus far. We're going to be waiting for earnings over the next couple of weeks. 55 million was the volume. It was very good to see this nice bounce on the stock price, and we're going to be watching to see how Alibaba's earnings end up affecting the share price. Now, Deutsche Bank is still giving a buy rating for NIO. Price-price ratio is bouncing as NIO is gaining some strength. And on top of this, I still remain bullish for December for NIO. I think that the end of November is going to be bullish, but temporarily, I think that there might be some short-term downside for the markets. I'm going to break down why that is and how this could affect NIO. So moving forward, guys, we're going to start off with SPY. This is also going to be related to like SPX because we have some very similar looking technicals. The 4-hour is starting to curl as we're seeing this thing dropping during the after hours, approaching our 449 support right here, and this thing is looking a little weaker. On top of this, I just wanted to call out that we basically pumped today, and we ended up slamming into the upper Bollinger Band. On a daily chart, when we hit the upper Bollinger Band, we tend to reject off of it. This happened 3-4 times in the past, and just happened today. We hit the upper Bollinger, and now we're starting to reject again. We're due for a pullback after all the pumping we're getting, and we have a bearish divergence on not the 4-hour. I think the 4-hour one has been invalidated, but on the hourly, it's still there. We have a big bearish divergence, a double bearish divergence on the 1-hour time frame that still develops despite how we pumped. And on the hourly, the 30 minutes or the 5-minute time frame, whichever one you want to use, we have a nice looking head and shoulders that's developing, suggesting downside could be coming very soon. So all these signals are providing these confluences, suggesting that we're going to see some downside. I could be, changing my view if this thing manages to break 452 tomorrow. Then we're going to turn bullish if we break 452. But so far we failed to do so, and this could be a pivot. We might see this thing start to come down to fill this gap. We might see a big move to the downside. So I just wanted to warn you about that. On Tesla, we have a bearish divergence on the hourly time frame. Tesla also has a head and shoulders like pattern right here. I think that there's going to be a risk of Tesla potentially coming back down towards this like 235 area. If we end up breaking down because of this head and shoulders, especially on the 30 minutes time frame, this could bring this thing down towards 238 or even below that. On the 4-hour time frame, Tesla's curling, losing some momentum off this bearish divergence, which suggests that we might see this thing retrace just a little bit in a very healthy fashion. So we're getting some signals that suggest that if we break 247, we're bullish, we're going to see 250, and then maybe some resistance up there. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose this 238 support and come down to 231. In my opinion, the odds favor it coming down a bit, so we're going to be watching this very, very carefully as time goes on. Now, moving forward, for the IWM, for the Russell 2000, this is also looking a bit more bearish with this bearish divergence. Going to be looking for this head and shoulders like pattern to lead this down to 175. On Aapl, we also have a head and shoulders like pattern that is developed. We slammed into some tight resistance at 190, and we have a bearish divergence still developing on the 4-hour time frame, which is all suggesting Apple's going to correct soon. We have a head and shoulders as well. We might see Apple lose 187, come down to 185. I think downside is imminent. Nvda, which is going to lead the market, it's already starting to sell off. We got a nasty sell off. It's down 1.55%, but we were just at 500. We ended up closing at 486. We're continuing to drop. In my opinion, we might see this thing continue to sell off. It's starting to look a bit more bearish on the 4-hour time frame. We got a bearish looking daily close. Excuse me, sorry guys. On the daily charts, let me just pull up the daily. Looking a little bit more bearish. I think that I might rebound towards 490 and then reject. If it keeps going, we have this gap down here to fill. We have a couple of gaps down here, especially on the daily chart. We might see a slight little correction as the market is finally due for that. The VIX also happens to have this like bullish divergence, which suggests that this thing might try to bounce in the future. Maybe the time is about to come as it's trying to hold 400 and 14, not 400, 14. I think I still have Nvidia numbers in my head. 14 is what's holding, and that's suggesting that this thing could bounce. So all these technicals are suggesting there might be some downwards pressure for NIO. We might see NIO slam into this like 200 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. So either maybe it pops a little bit more towards 8.3, then rejects and comes back down to 7.6, or it rejects right here and we see some downside. I think it's going to retest the 50 EMA. I think that 7.6 is going to be retested for a slight little sell-off. That's what the 4-hour time frame is suggesting. I know NIO is trying to bounce right here, but technicals do suggest this. Alibaba's earnings could affect how NIO moves. If we're bullish, you want to see it try to break the high I just mentioned and try to push it for 8.5 plus. But I'm leaning in the direction that it might actually reject, and we might see this thing come back down towards 7.6 because of the overall market selling off. So that's the direction I'm leaning in. I think it's very likely NIO might. The most likely move is it's going to pop and drop. We could be looking for a slight rejection, some selling that comes, but it's not going to be that extreme. It's just going to be minor. The 30-minute time frame 200 EMA happens to be at 7.61, so there's going to be a risk of some downside if it ends up losing the 50 EMA. So I think, once again, guys, I'm going to be looking at what's going on so far, and I think that there's a good chance of some potential downside, so make sure you watch your levels and do what you have to do. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, and peace out.